People often ask me, can anyone be a medium? What if I have no talent? Many mediums have seen those in spirit since childhood. I'm not one of those people. Their energy fields are perfectly tuned to perceive the higher vibrations of those in the spirit world, so they often tell others that you have to be born with this ability to connect across the veil. But I know that we all have this ability because we all have the same equipment. It's called a soul, and it's love that connects us to each other. Mediumship is a natural ability for humans, but for some of us, this ability has to be developed. I love to use the analogy of playing the piano. Some people are naturally gifted, but with practice, everyone can learn to play songs. In mediumship, with the right tools, everyone has the potential to establish a connection across the veil. If mediumship is your calling, you'll know it, and you'll want to practice your scales to continue developing this gift. I'm not what's known as a born medium. For most of my life, I was fascinated with the concept of an afterlife, but I had no personal experience of its existence. I'd heard of people who could allegedly communicate with loved ones who had died, but in my younger years, I had no reason to visit with a medium. While I dabbled in metaphysics in early adulthood, I focused mostly on my career as a naval officer. My logical, organized, left brain tendencies lent themselves perfectly to my work. I rose to the rank of commander, enjoying tours as a special assistant to the head of the Navy and as a commanding officer. The highlight of my career was being asked by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of the United States Armed Forces, to be his aide-de-camp. As the general's aide, I accompanied him to top secret hearings on Capitol Hill. I flew on Air Force One with the president, and I traveled around the world meeting kings and queens. Those events turned out to be the highlights of my 20 years of serving the country. The low point came on September 11, 2001. The chairman and I were on our way to Europe when we received word of the terrorist attacks. I told the pilot to take us back to Washington, where I stared at the gaping hole in the side of my office building, the Pentagon. It was that moment that renewed my interest in metaphysics. I couldn't help but ask the deeper life questions that you've likely asked at some point. Like, why are some people in the wrong place at the wrong time? And is this life all there is? I realized on 9/11 that life is too short not to live your dreams while you can. And so I retired from the Navy, just so my husband Ty and I could fulfill our dream of sailing the world's oceans. We did. We crossed the Atlantic Ocean in our little sailboat, and we were cruising the coast of Croatia when we received the news that no parent ever wants to hear. That my beloved stepdaughter Suzanne, who you see in the photo behind me here, a sergeant in the Marine Corps, had been struck and killed by lightning while crossing the flight line at work. She was 6 months pregnant with our only grandchild. He was a little boy who was to have been named Liam Tyler, his middle name after my husband, Ty. Suddenly, I had the urgent need to know if what I had intuited throughout my entire life was true, that death is not the end of life, that our Susan, who we love with all our hearts, was still with us. So I began reading everything I could find about the afterlife and sitting in the silence daily with the goal of personally connecting with Susan's spirit. A visit to a gifted medium turned my worldview completely on its end. Not only did Susan make her presence known through evidence that the medium couldn't possibly have known, but she brought along her baby boy, who she wanted to introduce to us. So in one short hour, that medium changed our lives. The hope and healing that resulted from connecting with our Susan motivated me to write a book about mediumship, to give those who are grieving the awareness that this life is not all there is. When I wrote my Hay House published book, The Priest and the Medium, the biography of medium Anne Giesemann and her husband, former Jesuit priest Wayne Knoll, I had no idea that I would one day become a medium, let alone be teaching others to be mediums. With the newfound certainty, though, that the spirit world is real, my spiritual practice expanded exponentially. Gratefully, through meditation and regularly experiencing expanded states of awareness, I achieved my goal of connecting personally with Susan. I never expected, though, that Susan's death, the most devastating experience of my life, would lead to me awakening to my latent abilities to connect with others' loved ones. With the same commitment that I've dedicated to serving my country, I've turned my focus to bringing hope to all of humanity. I studied with world-class mediums and opened a connection with the other side that far exceeded my expectations. I've written several books about mediumship, so if you'd like to know more about my journey and my work as a medium, I encourage you to visit SuzanneGiesemann.com. There's so much material there to help you on this journey, so pay special attention to the goodies listed at the bottom of the homepage in the footer, okay? But several years ago, when my husband Ty encouraged me to teach mediumship, I took a really close look at what makes this sacred connection possible. From the beginning of my journey, I documented what works and what impedes communication. I took all of these notes and everything I learned from those in the spirit world, and I created a method of developing mediumship that assumes no prior experience. The result is courses like this one you're now taking online, along with powerful tools such as the Hemi-Sync technology to help you achieve deep meditative states of consciousness far more easily. In the coming weeks, I'll be taking you step by step through the practices that opened my connection with the spirit world and have subsequently helped thousands of others to do the same.